Hey, welcome everyone to the very first top countdown for this channel. I've been humming and hurrying for a while of how to do this video because we had 22 stunning figures released in 2021, 21 of which I have here with me. The last remaining figure is the Super Saiyan Blue, Super Saiyan Kaioken, Super Saiyan Super Long Name event exclusive figure, which was released a few months ago only in person, but he is on pre-order currently, so I'll have him in a couple of months time, at which time I'll have a look and a good play with that figure. But yeah, for now, since there's so many figures, I'm going to focus the top 10 on easy to get figures, so that's the retail and premium bundle releases, and everything is based off the Japan release schedule, so anything that came out in Japan this year, ending with the latest Android figures. But before we jump into that, I've got two special mini groupings I'm going to have a quick look at, so yeah, let's jump into those ones right now. Okay, welcome to the very first of the special countdown. Now this time I've grouped all of the event exclusive figures together. They have actually been widely released. Obviously there was one more, but that was only sold in person. So from all of these figures, now I'm not actually going to open each one individually, just to try and save on time, but every single figure that you do see in this video, there is a individual full-length review for that video on this channel, so you can check out the Dragon Ball S.H.Figuarts playlist to find those, and you can also find 360 images for the box, the figure, and a selection of images of each individual figure and accessories and so forth on rockchala.com, which is linked in the description below. But yeah, for me, I'm just going to go with a top figure for the event exclusive, and that is the Super Saiyan Son Goku clone. The main reason why he took the top spot is all the other figures are just a straight re-release of a previous figure, as I believe event exclusives should be. But what made this one here a bit special is there hasn't been a version of a Goku clone before. Now this is a character from the Dragonballz Fighter Z game, so if you're unfamiliar with the game, this is one of the characters from there. There's a whole storyline for that. I won't go into details, but it is quite cool to see a different take on Goku. The hair is really nice, and it can kind of mix and match with some of the other bodies as well, which is pretty cool. So while it is a figure body and general parts we have had before, is a pretty new and interesting take on it as a figure. And most importantly, this wasn't sold via Premium Bandai or at an event. This was done for the Battle Hour gaming event, but sold via the Bandai Namco site, which went up worldwide for every region at the same time. And I think that's how event exclusives should be, so because of that, this guy takes my top pick for the event exclusives for this year. Now coming close second, I think Beerus is absolutely fantastic, and it's a good take on a figure. Beautiful colouring and a great rendition and update of the older figure. And then you got the Goku, Whis and Nappa, which all look amazing. So yeah, that's the first little bit grouping. Let me know below which was your favourite out of all the event exclusives this year, and what you hope to see this year. I personally hope we will get more globally released event exclusives. They have sort of hinted at a Android 21 lab coat version, which I think will be the Battle Hour event exclusive this year, done via the Bandai Namco system as well. Hopefully that is the case, but we should get details on that in the coming months, because yeah, this event's on next month, I believe, either February or March this year, so not too far away before we get our very first 2022 event exclusive figure details. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Anyway, let's jump on to the second special round. Okay, welcome to the second special grouping for 2021. Now that is the Ginyu Force. While we had two this year, or last year I should say, I feel like these figures are best to consider as a grouping, because if you buy Raccoon, you're definitely going to be getting Jace, Ginyu and Buddha. I mean, you're pretty unlikely to be only buying one, unless that character is one of your favourites. And well, I wouldn't blame you, these are some fantastic characters from the series, but I am going to consider them as one grouping for this review. Otherwise I think it's going to be way too hard for me to kind of pick just one or two to place in the top 10. Now these are probably my favourite figures from the Dragonballz S.H.Figuarts line. They all look amazing, especially Jace, though he was at the very end of 2020. But for the two that did release this year, we've got Raccoon, and then the Berta and Gordo. For me, the top pick from these is definitely Raccoon. Big, bulky, solid figure, and he comes with a frog. I mean, it's already like plus 10 points to him, and then he's also got the frog face for Ginyu himself. So he came stacked with those type of additional fun features which I love to see in figures, sort of accessories which tie into other figures in the line. And you obviously had the Dragon Ball as well with 3-star 1. And he's got some really great articulation, you get all the awesome poses. Again, you can check out full review videos for these via the playlist for his figures. The next up from this year was the Berta and Gordo set. Now this one here was really good too, though Gordo was a huge disappointment. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. While he does look great, we really should have had a proper articulated Gordo for the Ginyu 4 set. Hopefully Tamashii Nations will rectify that in the future with a proper release. Not going to hold my breath. For the time being, at least, he does look really good. And yeah, when you have all these guys stacked up together, oh man, they look amazing. Definitely a highlight of any collection, though pretty expensive now if you didn't jump on them in the first place. So if you are trying to track them down now, I wish you the best of luck with that. Before we jump into the actual top 10, let's have a bit of a special mentions, I guess, for the figures that didn't make my top 10 list. Okay, welcome to the honourable mentions, the 4 figures which did not make the top 10 list. Now, to be honest though, like, a lot of these figures, they're all pretty similar in terms of what I would give them a ranking, so it was pretty hard to break it down to an actual top 10. So even though these ones aren't in the top 10, doesn't mean they're not necessarily good figures. And from these 4, I definitely want to give a big special mention to the Son Goku's Hachibume set, because this is the first real accessory set we've had for the S.H.Figuarts line, and this is actually really fun. I mean, I've seen quite a few people on the Discord or elsewhere that have been on the fence about buying it, and when I do get it, I always say, man, really happy I got it. Definitely a lot of fun. You can do a lot of really cool setups with it and take some really cool photos. And despite the controversy of the face with him, yeah, it's not the best face. It doesn't look as good as what some of the promo picks kind of had it angled at. But it still looks overall pretty decent in person, and it's still really fun to use. So yeah, definitely a big mention for this set. If you're still wondering if you should get it or not, I do have a review, as mentioned earlier. But yeah, if you find it cheap, get it, pick it up. You've got the pig, the fish, ramen, the fried rice, the extra hands for holding a fork and everything like that. Really good fun to use. Highly recommend. Next up we have the androids, which just came out, and while these are both really solid figures, some of the articulation points on android was a little bit disappointing in the hips, so that kind of knocked her down a little bit. And then the skin tone colours on V17, while his overall design, build quality was really nice, I wasn't really a big fan of the skin tones that they picked for his overall figure, and some of the markings over MIR could have been placed better. So yeah, that's why these guys just kind of got knocked out of the top 10 placing. I was tempted to put 18 out there because she is still really fun to play with despite some of those hip articulation issues. For the Goku Black, again, absolutely fantastic. Cheap retail figure to pick up for anyone who loves the character, especially if you don't have the original, since they are pretty pricey. He does have some really nice shading on his body, but for me, his overall quality in terms of, I guess, finish is a bit rough, where the clippings and everything's been taken off from his armour. There's some markings left over there. I had some extra paint run on his fingers. Overall, kind of messy compared to other figures, so he's definitely been knocked down out of the top 10 due to a lot of those reasons. But yeah, what do you reckon about these figures? Where would you place them on your ranking? You can let me know down below after you see my top 10, which may be a little bit controversial. So anyway, let's just jump straight into it and get the top 10 out of the way. Coming in at number 10 on my list is the one, the only, Hit. So yeah, overall, yeah, if you watch this channel, you know I don't like Super. But besides that, he is a fantastic figure. That is why he did make my top 10. Let's pop him out quickly. Again, full review on the channel, so go check that out. But some of the reasons why I put this guy up in the top 10 as, well, he's got a unique design of these flaps. Like, generally speaking, a lot of the flaps on figures have been really tight and hard to use for cloak and clothing, but these ones are really nice and soft and flexible, with really good markings and detailings on there. And they've got a really nice simple peg system where they can just slot straight in. Now, they come off easy, but they go on easy. But once you kind of get them in the right pose, and once they're attached, they're not going to fall off that easily unless you're playing with it. So, I mean, they're on there now, you can swivel them around. He holds on really well. So yeah, the fact that they managed to make a design with a skirt that works really well, I think that was a really great change that we saw. His overall articulation armor was really nice, same with the inner chest area. So he's really smooth, fluid figure, and the printing on his face, like all these figures this year, well I should say last year, were absolutely amazing. I mean, he had a great range of articulation in his legs as well. Plus, here's one of the first figures to come with the hands in pocket look, which was done by having additional pre-molded hands in pocket skirt flaps. So yeah, awesome figure. If you love Super, love Hit, must have figure, and that is why he's on the top 10. They just really, I feel like they nailed his character and knocked this figure out of the park. So yeah, number 10 on the list is Hit. Hitting the turntable in spot number 9 for the countdown is the one, the only Super Saiyan Full Power Son Goku. This was one of the very cheap retail releases for last year, and yeah, he is really cool. Just very straightforward, simple. Exactly what you expect from a budget retail release. I mean, yeah, doesn't come with much. Got a few sets of hands and the straight normal Goku body. But what was different with this release was his faces. They've really changed up the style, really to kind of capture that Cell Saga look, with a bit more of an aggressive, straight, angular lines. And we have a really nice, jolly, smiling look here, which caused quite a bit of controversy. A lot of angry fans out there complaining that the face looks horrible, when in fact, I think it looks really good, and I know a lot of people were really happy with this release, and that is why he takes spot number 9. Everyone needs a good Goku in their collection, especially if they're a cheap retail figure, and you can't go wrong with the Super Saiyan Full Power Son Goku release. In spot number 8 we have the one and only, well actually two and only, Ten Shin-Han and Chaozu. Now this was actually kind of a re-release for Ten Shin-Han, since he obviously had a figure released a few years ago, and in this case we do have the green strap around his upper region, which looks really nice. But more importantly, this is really the first, I know I said this before and quite a few people disagreed, but I still believe this is the first real twin pack that we have had for the Dragon Ball S.H.Figuarts line. The other releases, obviously Berto, Gordo, you do have Gordo, but he's not really articulated. And we obviously had a Chelsea earlier with some other releases, but again was very limited. But not this guy. This guy has articulation. If I can get him open, one moment. I mean, check this guy out. Not only does his head move, his arms move. He's got a little bit elbow joint. He's got some decent articulation in his legs, his knee moves, his foot. He just looks really good. It's basically what you want from a little bit Chaozu figure. The only thing lacking was that center region articulation, which is a bit of a shame he doesn't have. Maybe in the future, once I guess their technology improves a bit more, we'll get something that is a bit more highly articulated. But yeah, that's why this guy is number 8 on the list. And yeah, I mean, Tien himself, absolutely fantastic. Those eyes, the eyes and mouth and just the overall sculpting on this figure is absolutely amazing. I go into detail about that in this review and I compare with his original release as well, so you can check that out for a good comparison. But yeah, for this one, overall solid release, plus we got Chaozu. You can't make the list without this big guy. Absolutely fantastic. I hope we get Oolong and some other small characters in the future, King Kai, Bubbles and so forth. Coming in at number 7, this was actually quite hard because Bardock here, I mean, such a fantastic figure. I was really tempted to put him up there in the top 3, but he did kind of get whittled down to the mid region. But one of the top figure releases for this year, Goku's father, the one and only Bardock. Get this open. as I mentioned, it is a cheap-ish retail release, around 4,000 to 5,000 yen mark, so not the real budget release one, but the slightly upper one. He does come with a key blast which attaches to a hand, which is really good. His ear can pop off with a scouter. He had a great selection of faces, and overall just captured the character extremely well. And personally, I love all the colouring that they had on him, and his armour just looks absolutely spot on in my opinion. Absolutely fantastic release. Yeah. If you haven't picked this figure up, I highly recommend doing it. He is retail. You can probably still get him at a decent price these days, and if you're lucky, you might even find him out in the wild. In which case, definitely grab him if you don't have one already. Joining us in 6th place is Uncle Raditz. Yeah, this was kind of one of those releases a lot of people were itching for a long time, and no one really expected them to release him. And I think it's kind of a turning point in the line where we kind of got that glimmer of hope that we are going to get those bit more rare exclusive characters that we once thought we would never see released, which is absolutely fantastic. That is one reason why I made the top 10 list, but another reason is he's a wicked figure. Great sizing, awesome range of faces, the expression of them looks good. Let's pop him out quickly and have a mini look at him. Okay, here we go. He's one of the bigger figures in the line, and he's got a massive volume of hair, and they did a really unique way of handling it. They made it kind of thin, so if you look from the side it doesn't look very good, but on any other angle it looks full of volume and works really good, and it kind of helps to limit his weight and balance. So I think it's a decent trade-off. One of the reasons why he isn't higher on the list is he kind of has some issues with the paint scraping on his inner armor here. It really needed a extra top coat to protect the paint from the scraping when you articulate him. Since he is a bit more harder to move and pose, you do kind of run the risk of getting some slight paint damage. The other reason why he isn't high, he doesn't come with a kid or baby, toddler, Gohan. There's some for the Dragon Ball Adverge figure line, which is slightly on the small side, but even if they added one of those with him, I think it would have been absolutely fantastic. Just something to give him a little bit more, I'm not sure what the word would be, not even playability, something, yeah, a fun accessory would have been really cool. He's got his arms folded look, but yeah, besides that, it doesn't come with any key blasts or anything else. It's just him and some poses. One thing that was actually cool though, I would just mention, his back armor pops off and you can slot this on so you can attach him to a stand. So that was a really cool accessory, but again, if he had like a mini Gohan and an apple, just something in there to give him a little bit more spice, he definitely would have been top 3. But yeah, overall, despite lacking some of those kind of fun accessories which some of the Ginyu Force figures came with, really solid figure, and definitely a solid pick for, I guess, mid top 10 range. Yeah, not much else to say about this guy, so let's jump on to number 5 in our list. Coming in at number 5 on the list is probably going to be a very controversial pick, and that is the Super Saiyan 4 Son Goku figure. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, why is this guy not number 1? He's probably number 1 on many people's top 10 lists. And, well, he did start pretty high. It wasn't quite number 1, but yeah, number 2, number 3. But as I had all the figures from 2021 lined up, he just kind of kept being slowly knocked back. And he kind of found this place here, right in the middle of the top 10 at number 5. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a fantastic figure. But I don't know what it is. He's just kind of lacking that little bit of, I don't even know what you call it, maybe magic. He is really nice, great articulation, has some awesome updates. He looks really nice, and he does have a key blast. He was a retail release, not a bad price. He has a good selection of accessories. He did have that really good articulation. So the new design of the shoulders does give him that fantastic articulation around, so you can get into those Kamehameha poses a lot easier, and his legs work really nice as well with extra range around there, so you can kind of get further than what other figures do. And this is awesome. I hope we do see this coming through on more figures. But besides that, I mean, the accessories has, I mean, most of it is what we've seen elsewhere in other figures, so nothing too amazing there. And while the new joints is really nice, it does have some larger gaps than normal. Maybe it's a bit more exaggerated with the colouring for Super Saiyan 4. So yeah, so that's why he is number 5. He didn't quite hit the top of the list. I feel like maybe there will be a better Super Saiyan 4 figure in the future, but he is a solid release, and I do feel like he is a must-have for any collection, especially if you want all the forms of Goku. One thing I should also mention is that the hair is articulated. It does have a few points of articulation for his bangs, which is absolutely fantastic. Again, there's a link up here for the full review if you want to check that out. But anyway, let's move on to number 4. Number 4 on our list is the Bulma Journey to Planet Namek version. Now this isn't the first Bulma we've had, but she is the very first Dragon Ball Z Bulma, and I think one of the most iconic versions of her that we see in the series. Now, like Goku, she has many forms, and yeah, I think this is probably what everyone thinks of when they think of Bulma for most fans. Now, the reason why this one has taken number 4 on the list is, besides being an absolutely fantastic figure overall, she comes with an awesome selection of accessories, which I think is something that every figure should have. That's one of the, I guess, the distinguishing features of a couple of figures on the top end of our list. But let's pop it open and get a closer look at some of those accessories and why they're so awesome. I mean, the figure herself looks really good. It captures that look. Awesome printing on all the eyes and face like every other figure. Excellent range of articulation as well. So no real complaints there for this figure. And again, her, I guess, clothing design worked out really well. So it didn't limit her overall movement while still maintaining that classic look. But as I mentioned, we're going to look at accessories, and the main one is her backpack. It's got Bulma written on it. It's got the nice details for the zip, but the design, hang on, oh there we go. So it's got pegs which pop off, so you can actually put the bag on Bulma. You just have to pop them off. Here we go. Goes around. And then if you fiddle around a little bit, you can get the peg in properly. I'll just put it on slightly. But yeah, it gives you that kind of extra level of playability, being able to add an accessory on or off like this. And speaking of which, we also have a hat as well. This is from one of the manga panels, so it's nice that we kind of have that crossover from anime and manga, where often a figure generally just focuses on one side opposed to both. So it's nice to get those extra little features and accessories coming in there. And yeah, she pairs really well with the Gohan we've already got, and Krillin, who's coming out this month, one of the first retail releases for 2022. And obviously we've been hinted at the Saiyan armor, Krillin and Gohan too, so that's going to be really cool matchup once we get those figures through. So yeah, perfect addition to the Namek line, as well as your overall Dragon Ball Z collection. So that's why she took number 4. Looks good, awesome accessories. I mean, what more could you want? Whew, things are getting exciting now. We're in the top 3, and starting at the 3rd place is Cooler himself, Frieza's big brother. I think he's the older brother. Anyway, we've got Cooler Final Form. Now, obviously, if you've seen the movies, Cooler does start off with a kind of a base form, which is similar to the Frieza 4 form, and then he powers up against Goku into this absolute badass of a version that you see before you. Now, this was a sudden, out of nowhere release announcement, which came, I think, during the Battle Hour event earlier last year, and yet no one expected to see Cooler, and man, were they pumped for this release. And yeah, he lived up to it. But yeah, he's an absolutely beast of a figure, so let's pop him out and get a bit of a closer look, and yeah, see some of those features why he is number 3 on the list. Okay, as you can see, he is huge. He's got a massive tail, an additional kind of feet as well as hands, and one additional face. So in the movie, he has the face armor which opens and shuts, and a really cool waterfall scene. So you do have the 2 options there. Now, the only reason why this guy isn't further up on my list is because he really lacks accessories. I mean, the figure himself is extremely impressive, with his armor, detailing and articulation for such a big figure. It's really impressive for what he can do. his tail here as well, if I can pop that on. Also has a point of articulation in the middle. I mean, yeah, just check him out. That is such a dominating figure, worthy of a top 3 placing. But if he had kind of a key blast, maybe a different look for his face, or just something along those lines, maybe even a rock to stand on like the very first Frieza figure, I feel like that would have benefited this release greatly. He is a little bit light on what you get, though he is a big figure, so I assume they were trying to cut down on the overall costing. But yeah, must have for any collection. Yeah, he's a beautiful figure. Again, link to his review up in the corner if you want to check out more, or images from via Rockchala linked below. Okay, we've just had Caller, and now we have Frieza First Form and Frieza Pod at the number 2 spot, and this is a stunning figure, one of the first ones to come out in 2021, and I was pretty close to putting him in number 1 actually, but he did take a solid 2nd place, and the main reason for that is the pod. Now to me, when I think of Frieza, I think of this version. I just have that image of him on Namek with the henchmen around him, and Krillin and Gohan hiding behind a rock as Frieza here tormented the local Namek village, and then just having that pod, that glistening gold colour, and the fact that Toriyama himself actually put in the detailing for this and for the inside of the pod. So let's take a quick look at it now, and we'll kind of see why this is number 2 on the list. For Frieza himself, he is a pretty simple figure. He's small, he has an okay range of articulation, not quite as good as some other figures, but that's mostly due to his armor design, but yeah, all his feet move, his legs have a decent range, and he looks really good. He has a good assortment of faces. He's also got a different head to fit the wider open mouth ones, and yeah, it looks really good. Dragon Ball, Key Blast, I mean, scaled on and off, a awesome selection of accessories there, but most importantly, he has his pod, which has a lovely matte black finish with a nice gold trim on it. The bottom part here pops off as well, so you can put a stand directly into it, and then on the inside the pod is beautifully detailed with all the controls as well, and then Frieza's torso just pops on here as well as his tail, and then yeah, you've got Frieza in his pod. Yeah, like I said, one of my top figures. If I had to purge my whole collection, there'd be some that would remain. There'd be Frieza, the Ginyu Force, Bulma and her bike, and 1 or 2 Goku figures at the very least. But yeah, Frieza here, top of the list by far. Just this pod is absolutely stunning. But yeah, enough about number 2. Let's go on to number 1 of the top 10 for 2021. Okay, here we have it, my top pick for 2021, and that is Lunch. I'm guessing it's going to be a big surprise for a lot of people, but this is such a fantastic figure, really good fun, and it kind of captures the essence of the character really well, and that's one reason why she is at the top of my list compared to some of the other figures. But another big reason, I mean, when Caller got announced, everyone was hyped, everyone was like, yeah, this figure's going to be good, can't wait, badass. You know, they were waiting for it. And when it came out, yeah, that is what everyone thought. Same with Super Saiyan 4 Goku, super hyped, and for the most part, everyone loves that figure. But Lunch, on the other hand, she kind of got announced as like, I don't really care, pass, don't want. But I've got to say, the overwhelming majority of people that I've seen have got this figure have absolutely loved her. Even people that I thought wouldn't like her have been saying she's such an amazing figure, really good fun. And I think that's one of the big reasons why she is at the top of my list. She's kind of like that underdog figure where everyone kind of just overlooks, but once they do get her, man, she really shines. She has the 2 options of obviously the blue hair and the blonde hair. That's her split personality. When she sneezes, which you can mimic with her hands extremely well, she'll kind of transform from a lovely, kind, caring person into a absolute badass of a character who fawns over Tien. So that's really cool. So she can match up with those figures as well nicely, and she does have some accessories. Well, I would have liked a few more accessories. She does come with the gun for the blonde version of her. and she has the Dragon Ball as well. Now, I have done the full review for her previously, which you can check out, and I've also had a few photos of her on Instagram, but she has extremely nice articulation, though it would be nice if she could do the splits a bit better, but her knee joints work extremely well, her legs, her feet move cleanly. She's just really fun to pose. She's also got her hair articulation, the head is easy to switch on and off, and all her hands and gloves. Everything about her is just really nice, and just a really fun, figure to play with. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what these figures are for, to have fun, to take out, to put into some cool poses, maybe some action ones, or some slice of life pictures with other accessories. Yeah, whether you're just having it on display on your shelf, or maybe doing some figure photography, or even stop motion. But she's got a nice range of expressions for both faces, and again, I think she just captures the look of the character really well. And yes, so that is why she's my pick. She kind of beat out a lot of other characters, and it's one of those things, I had all the figures lined up, and I was trying to work out where I would place them. I kept coming back to the line, just like, you know, like, even those other figures maybe have kind of slightly better accessories, or maybe they're just a cooler character in general. Yeah, just something about this figure just always kind of drew my attention and brought me back to her, just because she was so much fun, and again, captures the look. Plus, original Dragon Ball, can't go wrong. We only had one release from Dragon Ball in 2021, which is a disappointment. I really hope we do get more this year, especially Bandit Yamcha. We've got a few more Bulma versions. We need Oolong, Yajirobe, all of Piccolo's henchmen, and the Red Ribbon Army guys as well. So, you know, hopefully we do get more releases coming out this year for the original Dragon Ball. So if you do want them, yeah, be sure to tell Tamashii that you're itching for more Dragon Ball releases as well. But yeah, that's my top 10 list for 2021, plus some special mentions. Let me know what your top 10 list is below, if you kind of agree with this list or not. But yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to have a lot of really cool figures coming in 2022. I'm especially looking forward to Zarbon and Dodori and myself. And yeah, like every figure from 2021, we'll also have reviews for everything in 2022 as well. So be sure to subscribe so you can be notified for those releases as soon as possible. And yeah, you can always find out more information on rockchala.com. And if you want to talk about S.H.Figuarts, especially the Dragon Ball line, be sure to jump on Discord. There's an invite link down below. One of the best communities to find about the latest news, talk about the figures, share your collection, even ask for help if you are having issues. Great place to, yeah, just to chill and talk about your hobby with fellow collectors. But yeah, anyway, I hope everyone has a great start to 2022. Again, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, cheers!